You almost totally exonerate the National Assembly as if, they almost have altruistic, intentions towards Nigerian public. Has it always been, their injections into the budget, their submissions into the budget, their contributions into the budget, has it always been in favor of the Nigerian people? Isn't that why the executive, because we do remember that when it got to a head in 2008, the budget was almost 2 times what was sent to the National Assembly. And of course it does put the president in a fix. It does put the executive, who say they have the power to plan, in a fix.
That's true. Yes, total altruism might not have been possible or might not have been demonstrated by the National Assembly. But I tell you, believe you me, the National Assembly has some of the collections of the finest brains in Nigeria. Some of the men that are contained in the Appropriation Act, in the Appropriation Committee of both houses, the Senate and the House of Representatives, are some of our finest, depending very heavily on the academia for advice. And therefore, the executive has no such missionary attitude. I mean, it has no justification of missionary attitude. It is true that the executive has the overall authority. In fact, our Constitution, Section 5 of that Constitution, empowers the executive to harness, to plan, and to monitor the issues that have got to do with Nigeria's economy. That is true. But it cannot do that, and it does not have the power to do that only by itself. It just cannot do that. So what it has to do is work out a plan, a system in which there should be a synergy between what the National Assembly intends to do and what the President, of course, has submitted to the National Assembly. True altruism, yes, it's necessary to govern a country, but total altruism may not be possible in this circumstance, because the realism of the Nigerian situation is this: the National Assembly is responsible to the people, a larger and a wider spectrum of the Nigerian people than you can actually say the Federal Minister of Finance, for example.
What about the federal government? Are they responsible to the people too?
Yes, they are responsible to the people. But you will agree with me that there is this need to connect to the representatives of the people from the grassroots. You see, we have...
That's ideally.
Yeah, exactly. Ideally, yes. 360 men in the House of Representatives and 109 men in the House of Senate. I mean, that's a mouthful. That's what you need to be able to govern a country as large as Nigeria.
Let's take a look at, let's paint a scenario here. I mean, history has shown us that benchmark prices or crude oil prices do fall, and they have fallen way past our benchmark price in recent past, so much so that we've had to depend on the excess crude account to make up for the shortfall. Let's paint a picture whereby, oil prices fall way below the $82 per barrel that the legislature have set, or they have their minds at. What do you think will happen? Do you think that they will, as boldly as they've come out now to set this bold benchmark price, also boldly take responsibility for it?
Recent history and the statistics of the prices of oil at the world market in the last 15 years do not support that fear. That fear is actually unfounded. You see, we have a situation in which, but for 2003, there had never been a time in the last 13 years of democratic rule of Nigeria that the world oil price had fallen below the benchmark, except in 2003. This year, the budget benchmark is far below what the price is at the international market. And the National Assembly is conscious of this. You see, what the politics of it is this: the presidency or the executive expects that if it fixes a price significantly below the benchmark, the world oil price, then there will be a margin, a lacuna, a vacuum, some huge, soft, good money that it will be able to play around with in the form of a sovereign wealth fund, in the form of an excess crude account, over it to be able to superintend without the direct appropriation authority of the National Assembly. That is the politics. Nigerians should not be sold on the fear being perpetrated or being pushed to it by the executive. That fear is unfounded. There has never been a time in the last 13 years that the benchmark fixed by Nigeria had been significantly lower than the world oil price. In fact, it had been significantly higher than. So, in fact, the world oil price had been significantly higher than the benchmark we have ever fixed.
So what happened when we needed to, during the time of President Yodadwa, when the world was going through an economic crisis and,
yes,
we had to depend on the excess crude account? What happened during that period?
Very simple. It was because we fixed the same problem. It was because we fixed the budget unrealistically. The benchmark, the budget was unrealistically too low than the demands of the economy at that time. And so we were saving money at a time we needed to fix the roads, to fix the bridges, to fix the schools, to fix the hospitals, and to pay money. Now, you don't go save money at a time you need to embark on significant capital projects. So we were just saving money at a time we needed to push the money out. So the excess crude account was called upon, not because the budget or the Nigerian economy never had the money to support it. Have you noticed in the last in the last 6-7 years, that the Nigerian economy had not significantly suffered from any paucity of funds? There has been funds. The only thing was that the budget had been fixed too unrealistically below the expectations, below the demands of the economy. If you needed 20 naira and you have 40 naira, it makes no sense fixing the budget at 15 naira. You can fix the budget at par. You can say 20 naira. Yes, we need to fix 20 naira. Then it's 20 naira.
If you say we never suffer from paucity of funds,
yeah,
how come the last time when they were talking about the fuel subsidy matter, how they wanted to deregulate, they kept on saying we need more funds? So that meant that there was paucity of funds.
That was a different matter entirely. The issue of petroleum funds and excess crude or excess crude account, a different pot of fish entirely. You are talking of a situation in which there is a disconnect between what we import, the prices of what we import, and the prices at which those products are offered to the Nigerian people. The margin is what the government is saying we can no longer pay.
Because
we are importing.
They didn't have money.
No, it's not because the Nigerian government didn't have, but the Nigerian government was not interested in subsidizing inefficiency. It was just interested in a system in which what you earn or what you get is exactly what you are paying for. So if the Nigerian government was subsidizing inefficiency, the inefficiency or the fund will not go down to the Nigerian people, but will go down to the middlemen, to those importers. And have you noticed that the Nigerian people, for example, in the last, the last 2 weeks that we have had some slight problems in fuel scarcity, have been appealing to the government to ensure that more importation of oil is done. It's not a matter of Nigeria going broke. This country is not broke.
But I'm sure it is a plus for us as a nation that we've never suffered any paucity of funds. It means all the excess amounts being saved will definitely come handy should we be needing them.
Oh, that is true. But who is saving the funds? Do you have the authority to save the funds? You see, it is one thing to say we are saving.
So you're also a lawyer. Tell us what the law says about saving the funds.
Section 80 of the Constitution, subsections 1, 2, 3, empowers the National Assembly first to approve the budget. It says, no money shall be withdrawn from the consolidated account except in the manner prescribed by the National Assembly. It also tells us that the expenditure of the federal government must be approved. All monies that come into the federation shall be domiciled in one account called the distributed pool account or the federation account. That's section 162. But the federal government has been transferring so many funds into so many accounts. Accounts that in some quarters I have described as illegal accounts. For example, the Supreme Court said so. In 2002, in April, for example, accounts like the NNPC priority projects, the excess crude account, the federation, the federal capital territory account, which is 1%, because of 1%, the Supreme Court says they were illegal. The ditto for the accounts concerning amortization of Nigeria's debt. All these are accounts that the federal government have been maintaining at the expense of the other stakeholders in the federation. And it explains why it wants excess money so that it could send it to these different accounts that have no constitutional basis whatsoever.